Welcome to News Edge, your sharpest source for daily headlines and deep dives. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay ahead of the curve. Computer chips are the invisible heart of our modern civilization. They power nearly everything we use, from smartphones and cars to coffee makers and washing machines. These semiconductors are the building blocks of the digital age, enabling AI, 5G, and breakthroughs in medicine and finance. Without them, the global economy would grind to a halt. The countries that control chip design and production hold immense power, shaping both economic competition and national security. For decades, the industry thrived on global cooperation, US design, Asian manufacturing. But this balance is shifting. Today, China, the world's largest chip consumer, is aggressively cutting its reliance on American technology. This seismic move will reshape the technological landscape for decades to come. In a move that's sending shockwaves through the global tech industry, China has slashed its imports of US computer chips by an estimated $320 billion. This isn't just a minor adjustment. It's a deliberate, strategic pivot that signals a major transformation in the world's technology supply chains. The scale of this shift is unprecedented, and it's reshaping the balance of power between two economic superpowers. For years, China stood as the single largest customer for US chip companies, purchasing vast quantities of semiconductors that fueled its booming electronics industry. American-made chips powered everything from Chinese smartphones to advanced manufacturing equipment, creating a deep interdependence between the two nations' tech sectors. But now, the landscape is changing rapidly. Beijing is pouring billions into its own semiconductor sector, building state-of-the-art fabrication plants and nurturing a new generation of engineers. The goal is clear: achieve technological self-sufficiency and reduce reliance on foreign, especially American technology. The staggering $320 billion drop in chip imports is concrete evidence that this ambitious strategy is already bearing fruit. It marks the beginning of a new, more competitive phase in the ongoing tech rivalry between the US and China, with both sides racing to secure their own supply chains. For American giants like Intel and Nvidia, the consequences are severe. They're not just losing out on sales, they're watching their crucial market share in the world's largest electronics market slip away, threatening their global dominance and future growth. Meanwhile, Chinese firms across industries, from smartphone manufacturers to electric vehicle makers, are rapidly switching to homegrown chips. This shift is fueling the rise of a robust domestic semiconductor industry, capable of meeting China's own massive demand. As a result, the world is now witnessing the emergence of two parallel technology ecosystems, one led by the United States and the other by China. Each is building its own supply chains, standards, and spheres of influence, setting the stage for a new era of technological competition and division. This is more than just an economic maneuver. It's Beijing's unmistakable declaration to the world: China will no longer depend on its primary rival for critical technology. The era of tech independence has begun, and its impact will be felt across the globe. China's move didn't happen overnight. It's the result of years of rising tensions and US sanctions. When the US cut off Huawei from American chips, it was a wake-up call for Beijing. Technological dependence became a national security threat. President Xi Jinping made tech independence a top priority, mobilizing massive resources to close the gap. Years of investment are now paying off. Chinese companies can produce enough mid- and high-end chips to meet much of their own demand. The global chip shortage only reinforced China's urgency to secure its supply. This is not just a reaction, it's a long-term strategy reaching maturity. The US has built a technological wall around China, using sanctions and export controls to slow its tech rise. It started with targeting companies like Huawei, then expanded to block China's access to advanced chip-making equipment worldwide. The goal frees China's chip industry below the cutting edge. Allies like the Netherlands and Japan joined in, tightening the blockade. But these moves backfired. By exposing China's vulnerability, they fueled Beijing's drive for self-sufficiency. The wall meant to contain China has become its greatest motivation to break free. Now, China is racing to build a sanction-proof tech sector. The $320 billion drop in chip imports signals a fundamental shift in US-China trade. The era of chimerica, deep economic interdependence, is ending. American firms are losing access to their biggest market and scrambling to diversify. Meanwhile, new opportunities are opening for chip makers in South Korea, Japan, and Europe. Inside China, state-backed tech champions are rising, transforming the market. The Made in China 2025 policy is now a reality, not just a blueprint. The world is moving from complementarity to direct competition. The result, a fragmented global economy split into competing blocks. Trade is now shaped by geopolitics, not just efficiency. The semiconductor industry stands at the forefront of this great divergence. The chip split is hitting companies and consumers worldwide. US firms like Qualcomm and Nvidia are losing revenue and facing tough choices: lobby for access or find new markets. Diversifying is costly, and new markets can't fully replace China. For consumers, prices may rise as supply chains become less efficient. The era of cheap, powerful electronics could be ending. Soon, devices in China and the West may run on different chips and systems, potentially incompatible. The splinter net is emerging, with separate apps, services, and standards. The digital world is becoming more fragmented and complex. The global standardization of the internet age is fading. The semiconductor industry stands at a historic crossroads, facing a split that could redefine the future of global technology. For decades, the world relied on a seamless, interconnected supply chain. But now, that model is under unprecedented strain. The old model, where chips were designed in the US, manufactured in Asia, and assembled around the globe, has begun to unravel, challenged by rising geopolitical tensions and national security concerns. Two distinct ecosystems are rapidly emerging. One is US-led, prioritizing cutting-edge innovation, advanced research, and secure, transparent supply chains to protect intellectual property and national interests. The other is China-led, with a focus on achieving self-sufficiency, scaling up production, and reducing reliance on foreign technology by investing heavily in domestic capabilities. In response, the US and its allies are pouring billions into building new semiconductor fabs at home, aiming to regain manufacturing leadership and secure their own supply chains. However, these efforts come with significant challenges: higher production costs, a smaller addressable market, and the need to rebuild expertise lost over decades of offshoring. Meanwhile, China is constructing a resilient, state-backed supply chain, leveraging government support to weather external pressures and ensure steady growth. Their strategy centers on producing high volumes of mid-range chips, which power everything from cars to consumer electronics, while gradually moving up the value chain. Over time, China may not only close the technological gap with the West, but could even leapfrog ahead in emerging fields like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and next-generation communications. With massive investments in R&D, China is positioning itself to become a global leader in these new frontiers, challenging the traditional dominance of the US and its partners. As the industry divides, companies face tough choices: align with one bloc, or attempt to operate in both worlds, a path fraught with complexity, higher costs, and regulatory risks. Navigating this new landscape is expensive and risky, requiring constant adaptation to shifting rules, export controls, and competing standards. The result is growing duplication of effort and diverging technical standards, which threaten to slow the pace of innovation and increase costs for everyone. The era of universal compatibility, where devices and systems worked seamlessly together across borders, is rapidly coming to an end. In this new era, geopolitics will be just as important as performance and price, fundamentally shaping the future of the global chip industry for years to come. The chip industry stands at a pivotal fork in the road, a moment that will shape not just technology, but the global economy and international relations for years to come. The decisions made now will ripple across borders, industries, and everyday lives. Down one path lies escalating US-China rivalry, where two technological superpowers become locked in a costly and relentless arms race. Each side builds its own fortress, investing billions to outpace the other, and the world splits into competing tech blocks. In this scenario, innovation becomes fragmented as breakthroughs are hoarded rather than shared. Supply chains, once global and efficient, are redrawn by political agendas. Consumers everywhere face rising costs and a confusing landscape of incompatible devices and standards. The world grows less open, more expensive, and more divided. Everyday products become harder to access, and the spirit of global collaboration fades. The other path offers a different vision: managed competition and selective cooperation. Here, the US and China recognize the value of stability and agree to compete where necessary, but also to collaborate where possible. They could set clear rules for less sensitive technologies, allowing for shared progress and mutual benefit while still protecting their strategic interests. Achieving this balance would require patient diplomacy, trust building, and a willingness to find a new equilibrium, one that allows for both competition and peaceful coexistence. For the chip industry, this could mean greater stability, continued innovation, and a world where globalization, though changed, still thrives. The choice between these two futures isn't set in stone. It will be shaped by the decisions made in Washington, Beijing, and in capitals around the world. The stakes for the future of technology, the global economy, and international peace could not be higher. The path chosen now will define the world for generations to come. We are witnessing the birth of a new technological world order. China's $320 billion chip cut is more than a trade move. It's a declaration of independence and a turning point in the US-China tech rivalry. The era of hyper-globalization is over. National security now shapes the global economy. US sanctions, meant to slow China, instead accelerated its push for self-sufficiency. The world now faces two parallel tech ecosystems with far-reaching consequences for innovation, prices, and connectivity. Companies and consumers must adapt to a more complex, divided landscape. The challenge: manage this rivalry without tipping into conflict and find ways to cooperate for the common good. The future of technology and global power hangs in the balance.